Just because the Bills' 53-man roster has been announced, it does not mean that the roster moves stop in Buffalo. No, we hit the practice squad to get announced, and we know all 16 names that will be joining Buffalo's practice squad before NFL Week 1. And we're going to get to a Tre White injury update as well later on today's show after roster cutdowns and waivers have all passed. And speaking of waivers, Buffalo didn't have anyone claimed on waivers. Those came out at around 11 a.m. Eastern time. And they didn't have anybody taken off of their cuts to join another team's 53-man roster here. So for those of you who may have been worried about a guy like maybe a Frank Gore Jr. getting picked up by another squad, well, that did not happen. And he may just be a name that is on your Buffalo Bills practice squad here that we'll talk about in just a moment. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. This is why you subscribe. We are a service here at the Bills Breakdown. When the Bills make moves, we make videos for you guys. Subscribe and turn your notifications on so you're one of the most tapped in Bills fans in your entire group. We are almost at our next milestone. So close to 5.5 thousand subscribers. We are just Josh Allen subs away. 17. Can we get 17 diehard Buffalo Bills fans to go down below and hit that subscribe button for free, informative Bills content every day right on YouTube? Alrighty, the first name signed to the Bills practice squad out of the 16 we've heard, Shane Buechele. And look, I'll tip my cap to myself a little bit on this one. Based on what I saw in the preseason finale for Buffalo, I mean, Buechele was the clear practice squad addition for the Bills here. Like, he looked way better than Mike White had looked in the previous 2 preseason games. They didn't decide to even play Mike White against Tampa. They gave Buechele all 4 quarters, and he looked really poised back there. Solid mobility in the pocket. When he needed to escape, he would use his legs and get the first down, and he looks confident out there throwing the football as well. So hats off to him, and I'm pretty happy that he's going to be the Bills practice squad quarterback here, presumably the Bills emergency quarterback as well. Running back, Frank Gore Jr. There it is. Thank the Lord, man, because I was scared that he could potentially get picked up by a team on waivers this morning. There's a lot of RB-needy teams around the NFL, but Gore slipped through the cracks here and will end up back on the Bills practice squad. And I think this bodes really, really well because if one injury happens to this Bills running back room, then Gore can just step right back in. He's absolutely a 53-man roster level talent. It just happens the Bills have a good bit of talent and free agent guaranteed money, awarded to the Bills depth chart that they have currently at the running back spot. So Gore is going to see a practice squad selection right here. I thought he played pretty well in the preseason. We'll see if he ends up getting on the 53-man roster at all during this season. I would probably bet that he does. Stephen Gosnell in the wide receiver room is going to make the practice squad as well, and he was just a tough player throughout the preseason, man. 5 catches for 41 yards, and he was shaking a couple of defenders off of him, like a solid yards after the catch type of guy, even though he doesn't have that burner speed down the field. Just secure hands and a guy who you can rely upon on playing that scout team offense over on the practice squad for Buffalo. And another wide receiver getting added to the practice squad as well, Christian Wilkerson. This is a guy who I thought was playing tough during the preseason as well. Made a couple of nice grabs, high point of the football, averaged 13 yards a catch. So he was getting past the sticks, and at 6'1", 214, like a big enough body here to be a good addition to the Bills practice squad. And if somebody goes down in the Bills wide receiver core, I wouldn't be opposed to having Wilkerson be the next man up on that room. Kaliki Latu will be on the practice squad as well as a tight end gets on the Bills PS. He had 38 yards on 2 catches in the preseason. Did really nice with the ball in his hands when he had it. It was shucking off defenders, made a couple of nice moves, and I'm sure the Bills liked the quickness that he showed to them during the preseason action as well. Jackson Hawes is to end up being the 3rd tight end that made the 53-man roster due to the blocking ability that he has, but Kaliki Latu as a receiver was really, really solid as well. We'll see if he ends up getting a call at any point this season. Dan Feeney starts the names on the offensive line that'll make the practice squad here, and he wasn't exactly great in the preseason, to be quite honest with you, but he warranted a spot on Buffalo's practice squad here. And shout out to Ryan Talbot on Twitter. He can keep making the Feeney jokes from Boy Meets World there. So shout out to Dan Feeney sticking around in Buffalo. Kendrick Green on there as well. He is going to be some of the depth that the Bills have on the interior of the offensive line on that practice squad, and we'll see how long that he ends up in Buffalo because he signed a free agent deal back at the beginning of the spring. We'll see if he ends up sticking on the practice squad for most of this season. And then Travis Clayton, maybe the most interesting name on this Bills practice squad, not for the reason that he's an exponentially great player or like should have been claimed on waivers or something like that. No, Travis Clayton, he's an offensive lineman, usually routinely around the tackle spots, but he is a part of the NFL's International Player Pathway Program. And that means that he is not going to count against the Bills practice squad here. You sign 16 players, and that is usually the number of slots that a team has open on their practice squad. But now the Bills have 17 slots because Travis Clayton does not count towards that number. So the Bills have another open slot here, and that's why I'll beg this question to you guys. Name a player that the Bills should sign to their practice squad, as there is one slot open courtesy of Travis Clayton there. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Who should join this Bills practice squad, as we could poach another team's practice squad players around the league as well. A lot of names you could go out there and decide on. Next up, we're going to get to the practice squad members of the defense, and then we'll get into a Tre White injury update here, as we heard from Brandon Beane at Bills practice earlier today. We'll get into that in just a moment, but get hooked up with our proud sponsor on the program, and that is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform because it's daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 players, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, and just pick more or less on their projected statistics. Whether it's rushing yards, whether it's rebounds in basketball, hits or bases in baseball, they have it all, strikeouts. They can do it all on Prize Picks, and you can mix and match different sports as well. So college football is right around the corner. Got a great slate coming up this weekend. NFL Week 1 is around the corner as well. You can mix and match all these different sports on Prize Picks, and they want to make it easy for you guys to win real money in real time. That's why they hook you guys up with cool deals like $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry, but you got to use our promo code CLNS when you sign up. And they'll offer you things like free squares, free ways to boost your payouts on Prize Picks. Like this Dak Prescott free square, more than half a passing yard in week 1 against the Eagles. Look, I don't think the Cowboys are going to win that game, but Prescott's definitely going to at least get 1 passing yard. Also, James Cook, get in the end zone, young fella, more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown. And then Josh Allen on the ground, more than 31.5 yards rushing. You can take my picks or fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the promo code CLNS for $50 instantly when you place your first $5 entry. You don't have to win that entry to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. So Prize Picks, run your game. All that information is clickable in the comment section and description of today's video. All right, we heard about Jordan Phillips being signed. First, it was a crazy reporting cycle, right? Like, people thought he was going to be on the 53-man roster, and then it was quickly reported after that he only joined the 90-man roster this past week to just start getting workouts in and getting back in the building and being familiar with what's going on in Buffalo. Granted that his name may be called upon here in the early part of the season, but he will be on the practice squad here, not a 53-man roster signing, and it's cool. He's going to be a veteran mentor to a guy like a Deion Walker or something like that. So there's a lot of young talent on that Bills defensive line right now. I think a guy and a voice and just an overall presence like Jordan Phillips being in the building is going to be good for this team. I don't really want to see him on the field too much, though, in Buffalo. Jimmy Charlo is a player that I wouldn't mind seeing on the field all too much because he was kind of the star of rookie minicamp invites that, I ended up having a chance to make the 53 here. And he was kind of like the Buffalo Joe of this season, right? He didn't end up making the roster, but I thought he was really, really good in the action that we saw in the preseason. A true headhunter, like got a nose for the football, can sniff out the run, takes good angles as well. Not the best in pass coverage, and that's probably why he didn't end up making the Bills 53 here. But I'm really, really glad that he's on the practice squad. It was a priority signing that Buffalo wanted to make, and I know a lot of people were upset that he didn't make the main roster, but I think there's a good chance we could see Jimmy Charlo at some point this season rocking the Bills jersey on Sundays. Keontae Jenkins is another off-ball linebacker that Buffalo is bringing in on the practice squad. He's been dealing with a little bit of an injury after a really strong training camp and a start to the preseason, but he's not exactly all the way back healthy yet, so Buffalo didn't want to award a 53-man roster spot to a guy who they're not going to rely upon to be in the starting lineup or even the second string. This is definitely more of a special teams body for them, but once he gets back healthy, I think there's a good chance we could see him elevated to the 53-man roster in favor of a guy like Shaq Thompson if he doesn't show you enough early on in the season. Daquan Hardy is a name that we projected would be on the practice squad as well as we move on to the cornerback room. And this is good news. I like Daquan Hardy. He's a little bit small, undersized there at 5'9", but it's a good body to have on the P squad as well. And another name that got cut from the Bills CB room, Dane Jackson, a name that we potentially thought could be the Bills starting CB2 heading into week 1 when we originally heard of the Maxwell Harrison injury. But that looks like it's actually going to be Tre White if he is all ready to go. It is good that Dane Jackson is going to be on this practice squad. I was definitely not super confident in him starting alongside Christian Benford there at the other boundary corner. Let's take a look at the cornerback room now as it stands. Obviously, Harrison there on the IR, so not going to count against the 53-man roster for Buffalo. You have Benford, you have Taron Johnson there in your nickel. And then Tre White I have as a starting right cornerback here. That is going to be the case as long as he is able to play. Dorian Strong, Cam Lewis, and Jamarcus Ingram will back those 3 guys up. You have Codrington there for some stability as well, even though he does not provide a whole lot as a defensive back. But Tre White, man, we know he suffered that lower body injury, and We really haven't heard a lot of updates throughout the whole situation on it either, but we finally heard from Brandon Beane today, and he at least gave us a little bit of something, right? Brandon Beane speaking to the media here. Shout out to Sacapaccio for breaking it all down for us. Rehabbing Tre'Davious White as much as we can. Rehab has started, and they're taking it day by day. We will know Wednesday next week when the Bills' Week 1 injury report comes out if he is able to practice or not. And if Tre can't go, quote, we've got other guys we believe in, both on the 53 and the practice squad. Our medical team and he will do whatever they can to be prepared and ready for Baltimore. And Beane did not rule out Tre'Davious White for Week 1 action against the Baltimore Ravens. That is great news and a great injury update on Tre White here. There's a good chance that he could still suit up for that Week 1 matchup, and the injury is not season-altering or season-ending like maybe there was a fear, at least some level of fear of when the injury went down. Joe Buscaglia as well putting this on Twitter about Maxwell Harrison. Just a quick update on him too. Bills GM Brandon Beane said they are hopeful that Maxwell Harrison will be able to practice at first opportunity in Week 5. They didn't commit to it, but that is their hope at this point. So the Bills CB room's trending in the right direction. I can't wait for Harrison to get out there on the field because even Tre White, I don't want out there for an extended period of time this season playing a starting CB2 role, even though I don't think that position will make or break the Bills' defense. What do you guys think? What's your confidence level in the Bills' CB room entering Week 1? Scale for me down in the comment section, 1 through 10. 1 meaning Zay Flowers better have a career day. We're going to get cooked. 10 means we're locking up that Baltimore passing offense. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section as we're going to get to these last few practice squad signings right now. In the safety room, Sam Franklin Jr. is going to be joining the Bills practice squad here. And here's a name that the Brandon Beane said that the Bills have had their eye on for a little bit here. He comes over from the Denver Broncos and their cuts, so he will end up being in Buffalo here. And who knows? He's a young player. He's only been in the league a couple of years now, and he could end up being a guy who emerges out of practice and onto this Bills 53-man roster. As you know, the Bills safety room has a lot of question marks and uncertainty surrounding it right now, and that's why they brought in Jordan Poyer this morning as well. And I'm not saying that Poyer is going to be playing a lot. He might not play or suit up a single game for your Buffalo Bills this upcoming year, but what Beane did say about Jordan Poyer in the signing is that he is really going to be a mentor to Cole Bishop. Quote, he said, that's going to be a lot of it. Like, that was a lot of it. That was a lot of the reason that we signed Jordan Poyer in this free agency cycle, because we want him to be in the building and be a mentor to a guy who we view as our long-term option at the safety spot, and that's Cole Bishop. So I'm happy that Jordan Poyer and, of course, Rachel Bush are back in Buffalo as well, and hopefully they won't have to see Poyer suiting up on Sundays because 34 years old, I think his best days, we all know, are behind them. Now, some notable practice squad absences, some names that we could have seen potentially on this list that did not end up making it. Mike White isn't a name that's too surprising for me, as I figured they were only going to carry one quarterback on the practice squad. Ended up being Buechele. KJ Hamler is absolutely a shock for me. I can't believe he didn't make it. He's definitely a player that's worthy of a roster spot around this league, and I maybe would have favored him over Elijah Moore, to be quite honest. If both guys are making the same money, I probably would have picked KJ Hamler personally. Laviska Shenault did not make the practice squad either. The Bills seem to have their return game set up with Codrington, at least for now. Zach Davidson, I was pretty surprised at this name not making it. He was just a football player, man, just doing the right things in that preseason finale. Had a booming 62-yard punt as well. I know he's not going to make the roster for that, but I would have liked to see him on the practice squad, but we'll see if he ends up getting back on it at some point this season. Edufon Olufoshio, not good at all here for a fifth-round pick back in 2024 to miss the practice squad entirely. That probably says a lot about him. And then Derek Forrest, the Bills' free agent signing from the beginning of the spring, did not make it either, as they were just throwing darts at the board at that safety spot back in March. That will do it for today's edition of the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports. Hit me up on Twitter. Give me a follow over at Tyler J. Smith. 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That will do it for today's edition of the Bills Breakdown. Subscribe for the best and most informative Bills coverage on YouTube every single day. YouTube.com/BillsNews. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go, Buffalo.